This is the Conrad Alert. Civil defense information will be broadcast at 6:40.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Y2K, how can we prepare?
Stop a few of their machines and radios. Throw them into darkness for a few hours.
We are fighting for our lives. My family must survive.
Over 5 years, 1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Telegram, Rumble, and Odyssey. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim. Today's February 15th, 2023, and today is episode 255 of the Workshop Podcast. In just a minute, I got my buddy Brian from the Lots Project coming on. Two quick announcements at the moment. If you're looking for a way, or if you're wondering if I got any recommendations for gear, the easiest way, I just got another email today asking about a few different products if I had recommendations. There's about 250 of them listed at toolmantim.shop. So run by there. You'll find the Amazon links. Anything you pick up will help support the channel, which you know I greatly appreciate. And number two, Patch of the Month Club. Go to patchofthemonth.co and sign up. $10 a month, $100 a year. That is the way to get added to the super secret email list that is the Patch of the Month Club mailing list, where you get first dibs on anything new that we release. And we're working on some new discounts, some new perks, and the whole works. So with that, let's bring on Mr. Brian. How are you, sir?
Good, man. How's it going?
Good. So this would be appearance 3, wouldn't it, on the show? I think so. You don't know. I know. Why don't I even ask you?
Do we count the tool recommendation video?
Oh no, if not including that, it'd be 4. So, but yeah, see, I was trying to. I had you tied with Prepper Dad Ryan Buford. He's been on 3 times as well. So, and Carrie Brown's
do you have a recommendation for a cordless drill?
I do, yes. I just took my own drill. I cut the cord off, and then it didn't work, but it was cordless then. So, but just before I went live, Chicken Hawk shared in the chat a new line of tools from Cat brand power tools, and I've been kind of a big fan of them. But the cool thing is they've got this new battery technology called graphene batteries, and apparently a 5 amp hour battery will charge in 20 minutes. And yeah, so capacity, everything. Like, yeah, my 5 amp hour lithium ion from DeWalt right now, even on the fastest charger, takes an hour to charge. So we'll see. Got to get it.
I mean, how fast do you need it to charge?
About 20 minutes. Then if I had a 20-minute charging battery and you asked me, I'd be like, fuck, man, that thing's slow.
How much are the new batteries?
Oh man, yeah. This one, the graphene, I looked it up, was $200. It was $210 for a single battery, but that's Canuck dollars.
How much are the regular batteries?
They were about 140. So, you know,
just buy 2. Keep one on the charger, man.
Exactly. But it's the fun part of the new technology. That's what I love because I get addicted to it. But that's why I bought the damn Power Stack battery that DeWalt had.
Did you pull that thing apart? Did you you break that down?
Oh, so that one I did. So here's, what really sucked though? I'm sitting there talking away. I shorted it out a couple of times, doing commentary on the video. And I finish up and I go to look and I never hit record, or I missed the record button. I was like, God damn it. So all I have is this. I haven't even posted pictures, but I got the whole thing pulled apart. The best I can tell, they use generic cells in it. That one that they sent me, which whatever. I mean, they're generic cells, but my biggest thing was don't advertise it as what was it? They advertised as a 9 amp hour battery when it was just a fucking 6 amp hour battery, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, generic versus name brand is nothing for me because they all come off the same line anyway. They all got to be manufactured. It's the same damn thing unless there's a patent. So whatever. But yeah, when you're putting 3 2 amp hour batteries and they were calling it 9.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And I threw it on the
common
scale.
core math for you. That's the new math, man. You gotta get with the new math.
I think something got lost in the metric to imperial conversion. I think that's what happened.
Oh, it's Canadian units.
Well, it came from China, right? So they would be metric. And then they, because they do like 0.58 or something like that when they try to convert things to imperial. And
well, yeah, maybe.
Freedom Media Corps is going to make me blush. She said we're two of her favorite guys.
Who are you calling a guy?
Did you just assume my gender? Now we're in trouble. So how's life been treating you?
Good.
Yeah.
We're hanging out in Texas. We've been here since the beginning of November. We kind of sat down and hung out until our house sale went through and homestead sale went through, all that fun stuff. I've been hanging out with Josh, the Renegade Butcher, Liberty Meat Solutions, whatever he's branding under this time. Oh no, he loves me. I do all his packaging, so he doesn't have to do all the vacuum sealing and shit like that.
You're taking care of his meat?
I've been handling a lot of Josh's sausage for sure.
Good dude.
Lots and lots of Josh's sausage, and making some content over there, and learning a little bit about the butchery business and things, but getting ready to take off here probably in 2 or 3 weeks and go on another road trip and probably travel at least until June at least.
So do you know where you're going next?
Well, we have to stop in Tennessee at the end of April to meet some weird guy that I met online. And he's got some property that he says he wants me to come look at. I don't know what's going to happen when we get there, but
well, you've been down handling Josh's meat, so now I got to show you my stuff. So I bought this big package. It's a big land package. So
nice. I've learned to take a lot of meat and handle it all in one day.
Hey, it is what it is. Everybody's gonna be like, oh,
but no, we're gonna kind of meander our way up to Tennessee. Probably through March, and you're going to be up there at the end of April. Yep. We're meeting up with Tim, actually, if you guys didn't catch that. If you're slow folks, or the slow folks in the crowd, I'm going to be meeting up with Tim towards the end of April up there. So we'll probably take March and April and kind of zigzag back up. Nice. We want to hit Crater at Diamonds, or Crater at Diamonds National Park in Arkansas, and mine some diamonds on the way by. And then after that, we got some waypoints we got to hit, but we're kind of holding that tight to vest because we're not for sure on it. But travel around for a little while and probably end up out in South Dakota by June. So,
home then.
Yeah. Actually, to finish all of that stuff, we're in the midst of trying to figure it all out, getting vehicle registrations done and everything. But we have to actually eventually get there and spend one night to get our official residency and driver's licenses and all of that stuff. So that's about as soon as we're going to be able to make it up there because of weather, and we don't want to go to the snow.
I don't know if we talked about this last time, but how did you settle on South Dakota? It might be helpful for anybody who's like, hey, I'd like to be a ne'er-do-well and wander the roads.
Well, there are several states that you can set up in. Since we were in Minnesota and we kind of made all our plans relative to Minnesota, we weren't sure. We didn't know that we were going to have to leave and come back to get everything done. But the short hot weather season in Minnesota didn't help us. South Dakota is a state that you can get residency spending one night there every 5 years. It's called an absentee resident affidavit. You have to state that you're planning on returning there. So I plan to return there for sure to get my driver's license again. So, and eventually maybe grab a piece of property there and settle down. YouTube, put that on air and recorded so that anybody from South Dakota can remember. Absolutely. That we are intending to end up in South Dakota at the end, but a lot of traveling nurses, military people that just don't have a home for whatever reason, and nomads, full-time RVers and things like that really gravitate towards South Dakota. There's no state income tax. There's very favorable business laws and regulations and things like that, and vehicle registrations, insurance, everything is cheaper because there's nobody there. Half the residents don't even live there except one night every 5 years. So
that's crazy. And would they count those people in their population count?
I imagine they have to.
Well, holy shit, because South Dakota already is one of the least, the most sparsely populated states. And then you figure in how many people are, nomad. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't vote, so I don't really give a shit about that side of it. But I know so we use a company. Basically, we have a permanent mailbox, a permanent address at a campground. Oddly enough, it's like a PO box, but it's not. It's actually a physical address. I have things shipped there. My mail goes there. They hold my mail. They scan my mail. I can look at it online. Tell them to trash it, shred it, or hold it. And then when I'm ready, I pay them to ship it to me wherever I'm at, whatever address I have. I can also pay extra to have them open it up and scan whatever's inside. And kind of.
What's that company called? Do you know?
Mailboxes America.
Oh, okay.
And then they also run services where they'll do your driver's license stuff for you, your vehicle registration, all that kind of stuff, depending on what package you get from them. So I think it's like $200 a year to have that. And I have an address. Like that's not like using your cousin's address. This is my mailing address. It's my actual physical address. It qualifies under the Patriot Act as a physical address because like banks and brokerages and everything like that require a physical address. It's a pretty interesting deal. That was the big question. Like when you sell your property and you're not renting someplace, like where do you live? Like technically, where do you live?
Right. I got to be honest, that never crossed my mind when you were telling me this story. When you first started telling me that you were thinking about moving and traveling around, I never thought about that, but that's crazy. So it seems to be working out okay. You'll have it all, basically good.
Yeah, I mean, we have that mailbox. I started looking into it again today, and it's a process for sure. We got to it'd be basically like transferring your vehicles to the new state you move to, but you're doing it remotely. So there's a lot of power of attorney. There's a lot of mailing documents back and forth, scanning documents, proving who you are, where you're at, and things like that. Just because you're not in person, and they have to CYA for sure. Seeing they're doing it, and they're kind of skirting a lot of they're running in a lot of gray areas. Everything they're doing is legal to the letter of the law.
I'm thinking some of it probably get easier post-COVID or during COVID when they relaxed a lot. You know what I mean? Because that's what I found.
Well, and the laws and the requirements, the regulations, and everything along with it in South Dakota makes it easier. Vehicles are registered to your social security number, not your driver's license. So I don't have to have a driver's license in South Dakota to register my vehicles there or get insurance there or anything like that. So that's why I can delay going up there to get my driver's license and my actual residency, because I have an address there. I've changed my banking information to there, which shows intent to go there. And now I can register my vehicles, get my insurance, and then eventually make it there, spend one night, get my driver's license and official residency.
So somebody somewhere figured this whole system out, or at least
yeah,
right. And then they're like, we can make a business around this. Or
there's several, and some are better than others. It's all your personal preference, really, and what you're looking out of it. Like I have all sorts of different options as far as amount of mail that I get. Amount of shipping and different things like that, depending on what package I use. This company just happens to be the one that fit best for us. And so we went with it. There's companies that do the same thing in Texas and Florida. Mainly the states that don't have state income tax is where people are targeting for this type of domicile, is what it's actually called. It's not residency, it's your domicile.
Which makes sense. I mean, when I worked at Home Hardware, we lived in Nova Scotia, but the business that I worked for was technically registered in New Brunswick, which is the next province over. And for reasons, I don't know, but tax reasons, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We use a program or a company called Montana Mailbox that gives me a physical address in Sweetgrass, Montana. And so, because there's a lot of companies that want to send me shit, hey, test this out, test that out, but they won't ship to Canada. So it's been a big help for me. It all goes in, and then once a month, I have a company in Edmonton called DYK Post. They go down, pick it up, bring it across, and a few days later, I can pick it up in Edmonton. So it's cool. I like that because otherwise it's a real.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's like figuring out that it's advantageous and profitable for everybody involved to set this system up and just run it. And yeah, that's why it works.
RZ wants to know what end of South Dakota you're looking at.
For our trip there, we'll probably be going to the southeast corner. Getting I don't know. We're actually once we get to South Dakota, we're actually planning on spending the summer kind of North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, kind of as far north as we can get and as high elevation as we can get. So we might actually go farther. I mean, we might go to the Black Hills. We don't have, once we get our license, that is kind of our last. We're hoping to go see some family on our trip between now and June, both sides. And then after we get our licenses, we're kind of home free, really, other than getting back to go to fall SRF.
Nice. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I don't know if we've talked about this a little bit, but I was talking to Nicole the other day and she's totally down with it. But I'd like to do some sort of like 1 or 2 day workshop / work day at my property, say like a day or two before SRF or a day or two after. So when me, you, and Carrie, I think all three of us are going to get together in April, we should figure that out because I think it could be advantageous for all of us. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Absolutely. Especially if we have people coming in, permaculture instructors or somebody of that type that's coming in for SRF anyway. They're going to be in that area. Could be cool. It could be a venue for them to put on a new kind of workshop, a different type of workshop that they're doing shit on their own property. They might want to do something different that works on your property. And now there's that availability to do that type of thing.
Yeah, because it's basically 10 acres of raw land, a little bit of selective cut, but other than that, there's nothing there. So, hey, get somebody in and maybe, Carrie says, yep, I'm there and we'll help rally the crew. That's awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah. You got a lot of momentum on that property and you haven't even set foot on it.
I know. And so I've actually extended the time I'm going to stay in Tennessee. So I know it just gets longer and longer, but so I'm going to leave from here the Tuesday after Labor Day. So it's like September 6th at this point, and I'm going to come down and I'm going to stay until after SRF, which is October 15th. So it's going to be a solid 6, maybe 7 weeks that I'm going to be down there.
Nice. I'll have a nice target window there. I can just aim in the general direction and go meet these 6 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be good. I've got 3 events that I'm going to go to that are all on the weekend. And so everything else is it'll all be around. I think Dad's trying to get his passport, which will be cool because he's never been anywhere other than Alberta. So I'm like, hey, fly into Nashville, come down, work with me for a couple days. I'll take you around. It'll be fun, because
nice.
He's not getting any younger. He's 67, I think. So
might get to meet Papa Tim.
That would be awesome. Oh my God. That would be that would actually be quite funny to bring him to like something like Self-Reliance Festival. Might blow his mind.
He'd have a blast.
Yeah, he really would. Introduce him to John Willis might scare him a little bit in a good way.
You might want to let him know John's YouTube channel before you introduce him. Like, take a look at this guy for a couple. Don't watch too much because you might get
it'd be.
I love feel for the intensity there because it's on like hyperdrive when you meet him in person.
Oh, yeah, I love John to death. It would be awesome. But, oh man, that'd be funny. Yes, it would be. Oh, I'm going to shout out live.
It was nice to meet John outside of SRF too, just in his normal workday, because we had to stop by there to pick something up, and it's incredible how focused he is.
That man, he had no reason to do everything he's done for me so far, but he has. And I asked him one, I said, John, why have you done it? He goes, because every time I tell you to do something and he didn't mean, something that will better what you're doing, you do it. So I'm like, okay, I can live with that.
Right.
Yosick just put in the Telegram group that he passed his general ham radio test. So let's shout out to Yosick tonight. So that's good. Hey, yes, I'm all out of bourbon already, so I'll have to reload.
Yeah, you got to drink when they talk about ham.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Oh, there's another question too. Oh yeah. Or well, I guess it's more of a statement, but Freedom was saying that that whole South Dakota thing could be a good little extra business for people with a hip camp.
Yeah, it gets weird when you own property. Like that was the big thing for us, is when we couldn't go over there and get all this taken care of because we didn't sell our property before we left Minnesota. So we were technically Minnesota residents. We owned a residence in Minnesota. So then you can't really just go, oh, well, I have this house and everything in Minnesota, but I live in South Dakota.
Right.
I'm sure you can work around it, but it was just easier to wait till the sale went through and then make our way back there.
So how long you been on the road now?
We left September 26th.
Yes, sir. Why don't? Yeah. So that's September, October, November. Yeah. So we're 6 months now, almost.
Yeah, about that. But we've been sitting for. We traveled for just over 2 months and then sat down and waited for all the dust to settle on the house. And help Josh out, and can't wait to get moving again, because that's kind of been the MO, really. We would take a 2-week trip, then we'd get back and have to work on the trailer, or get back and have to winterize it, and then sit, and then take off again. So we just put ourselves right back in that pattern, but it was necessary. Corey kind of shifted to full-time remote work, and we did the house sale, so we needed a permanent address. We kind of restocked everything because Josh was kind enough to let us use his address for our Amazon deliveries and things like that. So it was kind of a needed stop, and the weather here has been gorgeous for the winter. Like if we wanted to get out of Minnesota because of the winter, this was like ideal place to be. So I'm okay with it, but I'm ready to go. We still got a couple weeks, but I'm ready to go.
Do you got kind of a limit to how long you can be in a place before it starts growing hair on it, or gets a little,
Yeah, well, we're trying to feel that out. We really targeted and we enjoyed the frequency when we were a week or 2 weeks at one location. That 3 weeks was a little much. The one time we did that while we were traveling, but we were waiting on some things. That was around SRF. We were waiting on the house and all sorts of different stuff, and we weren't sure what we were doing. But yeah, that 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on the site. Plan on 1 week, and if we like it, extend a week is kind of that play. If we really like it, maybe 3 weeks. But we've really realized that if we stop using our GPS to go do shit, we've been there too long.
That makes sense. I like that. That's really good.
Or if the gas station guy offers you discount beer.
Hey, I don't know. I just have that face where they always offer me discount beer anyway. So
I guess I just look like I need discounted beer.
It's like, oh man, you look hard up tonight. Do you want a case on? I have a slightly blemished case of beer. Do you want one?
Yeah, guy says, hey, I got that case of beer. You want one? It's got one broken bottle. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I had actually picked it up a few days earlier and it was leaking out of the case, and I was like, I'm not buying that shit. And so I put it back on the shelf.
Why is that so funny?
I didn't tell him. I just put it back on the shelf. And he says, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. He's like, you come in tomorrow, right, for more beer? I'm like, what? was like, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day.
That's funny.
Like, I gave you discount. I gave you discount then.
You're putting his kids through college. That's all. So,
well, I came back to get it, and I was like, well, I'm thinking I'm going to buy what I normally buy, and then just buy the extra when he has the extra. So I bring him what I'm going to bring up, and I set it on the counter, and he's like, oh, you want the case I tell you about? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, so I'll take this one back. You only want one. I said, no, you fucking leave that right there. You need to give me that one and the other one.
What a good man. Hey, he's just looking out for you is all.
Oh, yeah. Chicken hawk. Jeez.
You know what? Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm trying my damnedest, but I really suck at navigation. I'm just so bad. Yeah. When we drive, Becky's always the one.
You grew up you didn't have GPS when you grew up. How'd you get places?
I didn't. No, when we travel, it's kind of funny though, but in 2007 we drove across country and we took like the back roads up northern. Well, that was when I ended up through Floodwood, Minnesota that time. And
you went the wrong way if you were in Floodwood when you were trying to drive across Canada.
Yeah, well, sorry. Well, it was across Canada. We just went through the states, to get to Saskatchewan, and we ended up.
Oh, that's right. I was farther north in Onamia, Minnesota, than like 75% of the population of Canada.
But we were still heading further north than you, poor thing. But yeah, we used an old paper atlas, which was, I don't know. We didn't even have a cell phone in 2007. We were just too broke to have one.
Dude, I remember going so we would have these parties when I was in high school, and I mean, I'm kind of dating myself, but we would be out in like state land in Western New York. It would be like the state forest. Yeah. And they'd have the drive-in, and you drive in on this dirt road, and there'd be a turnaround at the end for like parking to go hunt or camp, or we'd go back there, start bonfires, and have these huge raging parties. Well, we would go and get these pallets from the newspaper place, would give pallets away for free. And we'd stack them up like 15, 20 feet in the air, with like climbing up the stacked pallet and hanging them up on the top. Yep. And then we would fill them with the rolls of old newsprint that they would give away for free too, and then light it. And that's how we told people where the party was we'd send up a fucking flare, and you would just drive around the country and you'd find the party. Like everybody would just
fire, man. That's
crazy.
Dude.
So there was a lot of times you're just driving around country roads. You didn't know where the hell you were. And you're coming out of there. And I'm not saying that I ever drove drunk, but maybe might have had a couple and tried to make my way home. I didn't know where the fuck I was. You had that sense of direction because you drove around all that time and you could just find your way home.
I do like the prairies because you always know what direction you're heading. When I first moved here, a few of the newfies are like, okay, what direction are we heading, Tim? I didn't have a sweet fucking clue for the first few months. And then all of a sudden you're like, you just get it because literally it's all a cube and, north, south and east, west roads is all exist. So, and right. In 3 seconds you look for the sun because, you can never not see it because it's fucking flat as a board. And you just, okay, I know where I'm going. But
ours was hills and valleys. So I was in like Western New York with the Finger Lakes and all the lakes and all the glacier cut stuff. So basically, if you were driving on flat, you were going, it was pretty much northwest to southeast. But if you took a turn down, like you went down a hill, you could figure out what town you were in, and you knew on the map what direction you had to go to get home.
I suppose, yeah, if you're in the mountains, if you're going down, you're heading a certain direction. And if you're going across, you're flat. Is that what it was?
Well, yeah, you were kind of either on the ridges and all the lakes kind of ran the same general direction, but then you would just try to find your way downhill and you would come into some town. And I'd just been there my whole life and you knew what town it was. You were like, okay, well, this is kind of like 20 miles northwest of where I need to be. So, all right, get turned around, go that way. And
that's all right. So you've been 6 months on the road. Oh boy. Renegade Butcher says, all about those Finger Lakes. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but Yeah. I mean, he was talking about your meat earlier, Renegade, so we'll just move on. But
Yep.
what have you guys learned so far in the 6 months?
That we need to move to keep on maintenance schedule is one thing.
Oh, yeah. Talk about that, because maybe that was in our call the other day, but yeah, I remember you telling me a bit.
Yeah, so when we move, we clean everything. We like deep clean everything because we have to have everything put away, everything stowed, close everything up, and then we're traveling and it's like bouncing down the road. So you really got to do a number, like make sure everything's good. And if you're going to close everything up and you got to move everything anyway, so you deep clean whenever you're going to move. So I was like once a week or every other week, we were completely, it would be like moving all the furniture out of your living room and cleaning your living room every week is what we were doing. But the other things that went with that were I was getting up on the roof and checking the bolts on the solar panel brackets, and I was taking the chimney cap, if we had used the wood stove, taking the chimney cap off and running the brush down through it. Just because I'm up there, I carry the brush up and throw it down. Big deal, whatever. It takes 2 seconds. Well, we had been here for 3 months and we got into some shitty wood for the wood stove. We got into some pretty cold temperatures where we were running it quite a bit. And all of a sudden the wood stove acted funny, acting weird, wouldn't draft right. We were blowing smoke back into the camper when we'd open it. Like what's going on here? Finally, I went up on the ladder, and the stove cap the stovepipe cover, the mesh in it had completely, well, not completely, it was still venting, but it had clogged down enough that it wasn't drafting properly and sucking that smoke out. Well, if I had been moving every 2 weeks, we had been here for 3 months. I hadn't processed that I was cleaning this naturally by the fact that I was going up there and taking it down every week or 2 weeks. I needed to have in my mental rotation that if we're sitting for 3 months, every 2 weeks, I got to go up there and clean it still.
Sure. Yeah.
So like just by the fact we didn't move, there's that type of stuff. And yeah, it got a mess. And we were just like, why is it all messy in here? We're like, well, we haven't moved. We haven't had a reason to clean everything. Like we've taken everything out. We haven't had to put it back away. Like, oh, we're using this and we're going to use it tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Well, you don't put it away. Now it's out. Well, there's no room for it out anymore. Like there's no room to keep shit out. Like it has a place and it needs to be in that place. But for this mental block, because we're going to be here, I'm like, oh, well, I could take it out and just leave it out.
Right. That's crazy. You wouldn't think that, but yeah, I get it. And you...
and we ran out of propane because it was just like weird cycles and shit like that. Like,
well, the weather was shit.
You get out of your rhythm. You get out of your rhythm.
You guys ended up having some pretty shitty weather?
Yeah, I mean, we got down to, what was that, 15 degrees? I think a low of 15, and we didn't come above freezing for 3 days, 4 days, something like that. So we had to drain our water. We did water out of jerry cans, buckets, and like an igloo or a Yeti type cooler, a hard side cooler. And we ran wood stove and propane backup heat, and yeah, it was good. It was good. We were fine. We kept it up, I think 50-ish, 50, 55 in here when it was 15 outside. So
that's not bad for yours wouldn't be considered like a 4-season camper by any means, would it?
No. And that's a lot of the stuff we've really learned since we've been on the road is what we want next time. We already figured out what we want next time. Not exactly, but we have must-haves that we want to change when we buy our next camper.
And are you still thinking about going smaller? Because that's what you told me last time.
Absolutely. Probably significantly smaller.
How much smaller? So what size do you have now?
32 foot with two slide outs. So it's like it's like a big bunk house in the back completely. We'll probably end up in that 24, 25 foot range.
Easier to maneuver. That was the big idea, or just
weight, maneuverability, truck. And if we buy the smaller camper, we can spend the same amount of money, get the higher quality insulation, the higher quality. We want to go more There's a company called No Boundaries that makes
yeah,
off-road, like the stuff we want to do.
It's got a higher. There's like a higher suspension. Do they
higher
have like
clearance, heavier leaf springs, better tires. It's meant to go places like we want to go.
Yeah, that's
my
cool.
travel trailer is not meant to go where I want to take it, and I take it there anyway. Unfortunately,
whatever. Hawk
it'll
wants to know.
it'll sting me at some point, I'm sure. Like right now we're stuck where we're at. We have to have the landowner where we're staying pull us out with a tractor here sometime and get some routine maintenance done on this before we hit the road, because we're buried in a old watermelon field.
So did you sink in? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's all sand.
Did you?
We stuck when we parked here. Like we were at a campsite, and then we asked them if we could stay for a few months, and they were like, okay. And we're like, well, we don't need to take up one of your campsites because they were going to give us a discount. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to occupy one of your sites and then get a discount from you. Like I can go park in that field. That's the whole point. I don't need a hookup. I don't need anything. So we found a spot we wanted to park, and we were like, hey, how is it soft there? Whatever. We knew it was kind of sandy. They're like, well, it should be all right. Whatever. Well, we're super heavy. We're like 11,000 pounds on the trailer, 10, plus the truck and the dogs and all this shit. And so we started circling around in the field, and it just sunk in the sand. It's all like sugar sand and clay mix, and the sugar sand was all on top, and it was so dry, hadn't rained in forever, so it was all fluffy, and we just buried. But we kind of dicked around, and we turned it around, trying to get it unstuck, and it was getting to be dark, and we looked at it and we're like, well, it's kind of facing the direction we wanted to be, and we threw a level on it, and it was fucking level, so we said, well, fuck it, we'll just stay until we get pulled out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask you this. Dixon wanted to know too. Can you park on some planks to help solve that later on, or was it kind of a scenario?
Oh no, it was too late. We didn't sink in after the fact. We sunk. We got stuck, and it was level.
Poor guy. Yeah, shit.
So I mean, the landowner has a tractor. We can. They've had us like. So the more you like, we've driven in front of where we parked.
Okay.
With the tractor for 3 months, it's like a parking lot. It's like concrete parking lot. So it's just a matter of the fact that it was a field that never been. It's like a pasture field. It used to be a watermelon field, then it was just like turned to pasture and grazed. So it's just super loose top everything.
But once you get it broken in,
and fire ants. That's the other thing right here.
How's that been?
Sucks my Jesus. Yeah, I have a battle with the fire ants. We have a war. We're currently at a truce. I'm not sure why, because after the rain, I'm pretty sure they think that I really screwed them. But when we first got here, well, it was actually before we got here, but I ran into the fire ants. But when we parked here, it appears we parked on a field that has an enormous fire ant hill under us. Like it's just probably like people are like, oh, just put tea tree oil and citrus oil and this and that around. Like, no, this fucking thing is like probably 50 yards long by 40 yards wide. And they come up and they like every time it rains, all their mounds disappear, and then they build up more around us. And they're just like, where they're like, yeah, fuck you. Good luck. We have you surrounded. Well, when we first parked here, I was like out, and we were kind of feeling each other out, and they'd get on my feet and they'd bite the shit out of my feet, and they're just like blisters, and it's horrible. It's the most horrific thing. They're like the scourge of the earth. So I started fighting back, and our dogs slobber. Like, kind of told you about that, but
yes.
When we change their bowl, like we don't fill their water bowl when they're empty. We fill them when they're too thick. Basically. So you dump out the 2 inches of slobber that are accumulated in there because it's too thick and it's gross to drink. But we fill a 1 gallon bucket in our kitchen with that throughout the day, and we empty it once a day, take it outside. And I started pouring it on the ant hills systematically and battling them. Eventually they stopped biting me, so I don't know if they realized that I was going to fuck their shit up and maybe light them on fire, maybe get napalm or nuclear weapons or something to take care of this issue, because I was not happy. But I haven't been bitten in a while, and that might just be winter.
Are you guys still doing the barefoot thing?
Oh yeah, dude. Texas is a great place to do that. There's like sandburs, cactus, fire ants, scorpions, snakes. Great place to barefoot.
Oh yeah, so nothing really, man. Yeah. That's crazy. How's Corey's feet holding up to the fire ants?
They don't bite her.
Oh, she too sweet? No, they like sugar, don't they?
Too much vinegar. She's just a bitch. She's a vinegary bitch.
That makes sense, sure.
I can say that because I remembered Valentine's Day yesterday and she didn't. So,
well, I did remember, but Becky brought me something home the day before, so it was pretty easy for me to remember. For my God, now don't forget, Tim. So,
oh, Dixon says they can sense evil.
Oh, yes, no doubt. Where was it? Hawk wanted to know how Starlink treating you.
Good. I mean, it blips in and out. I mean, that's this kind of, I knew that going in. Like I've seen all the videos about, the cycling. We have yet to be in an area that was like primary service for Starlink and actually covered on their map. We've been secondary coverage and limited spotted coverage ever since we got it. And I think the lowest I've ever seen was like 10 megs download and 3 or 4 up.
That's still
better than what I had.
Well, sure. Yeah.
And it's unlimited. I'm not paying by the gig at this point. It's unlimited. So, okay, sign me up.
Because you were paying, what did you have before? Was it just through like a telecom or like through a cell company? Or?
Yeah, there were data cards from a cell phone company, a cell phone router, and extended. I had 250 gigs a month. That's all we had for that's Corey's work, all my content creation, all her content creation, everything was 250 gigs a month.
Wow. That's what happened to me when I went to the States. I said, I need a US plan. No, we don't offer it. You have to buy it by the bundle. And I'm like, okay. So I was running out every 2 days and having to re-up like $80 every 2 days. So Becky called and hollered at him like, oh no, we do. And so now it was like $5 more a month. And now my unlimited plan works in Canada or the US. But they were trying to get me for $80 every 2 days. So whatever.
Yeah, it was tough for sure. And it was slow, depending on where we were. The cell signal was slower at its fastest than Starlink at its slowest. So I can't complain.
So speaking of streaming, you've been on a friggin' rampage with interviews lately. How's that going?
Good. I kind of decided that this year I'm going to interview as many people as I can. Well, it's going to end up being 104 people. I do 2 a week. I do Monday nights. I do live interviews at 6 p.m. Central on YouTube and all the other wonderful places I stream. And that's been going really good. A lot of just interesting different guests that I found through Podmatch is what I started using.
That's what I was if you want to fill us in on that, because I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah. It's a service. I pay $6 a month, I think, as a podcaster. And it opens you up to a database of podcast guests. And basically you go in, you write about your show, you put links to all your socials, and then you start putting in tags for your ideal guest, which basically hashtags, and you get 10 hashtags. So if I want to interview Toolman Tim, or I don't know you, but I want to interview somebody that reviews tools. So I would put tools, home improvement, review, blah, 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 whatever, from these thousands of hashtags you can use. Then every X amount of hours, depending on what level you pay for, I think mine is every 3 hours or every 6 hours, I get 3 new matches. So they take your hashtags and they match you to guests that have the same hashtags, that have the same availability, native language, whatever. There's like all these different criteria, and it just shows them to you. Well, then you can message them. the platform has a scheduling software. So if like I use a different calendar and I always have them book one or the other, and then I just mirror it back and forth. They're all connected, but they have a scheduling software in there. So if you didn't want to use any scheduling, you could do it all through there. Like I've interviewed somebody that does, what did he say, 12 podcasts a week. And that's all he uses. Like he doesn't use any other booking software. He doesn't use any other platform. He books everything through Podmatch. As a guest, you can sign up for like $25 a month to go on. Like you do the same thing, but in reverse. You fill out your guest profile, like what your expertise is, blah, 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 what you want to talk about. They ask you, this is the other nice part. So the guests fill out, most of them do 5, but you can do up to 8, I think, topic or suggested episode titles. And then up to like 15 questions I'm always willing to answer. So basically, if you don't want to do any work, like if I want to interview somebody that I have no interest in like diving into their background or trying to figure out really like if it's a topic that I just want to expose my audience to, I can literally take their questions and build an interview off it. Now, if it's a guest that I'm like really intrigued by what they have going on because I want to bring them on because I'm interested and I want to dig deeper, like I can do the work on top of that. But this really does a lot of the prep work for you. As a guest signing up, like you're a small business owner, $25 and you can get on how many podcasts in a month? Like, I don't know what the limit is. I haven't signed up on the guest side because I'm actually getting ready to sign up as a guest to go on other shows. I don't know what the restrictions are as for how many you can go on or whatever for what, like, I'm sure there's a limit for $25. If there isn't, man, if you could go on 30 podcasts or $25 a podcast to advertise your business or your product.
Well, because, like I've said all along, it's just an eyeballs game, right? You get in front of enough eyeballs, and eventually you're going to find that 1,000 true fans. You just need to keep doing it, right? So,
right. So I'm like, this is stupid cheap advertising.
That's better than what was it? Well, quite a bit better than the one we were paying, the promotion there in our podcast app, the
Fountain.
Yeah, thank you, Fountain. My brain ain't working tonight, but I like it. I love
you let all the brains out when you had her cut the hair.
I did. Be careful. Watch your eyes. It's pretty shiny up there. But so how have the interviews been? The people that you've had?
Phenomenal.
Yeah?
Phenomenal. I've done I think I've done like 13 so far. I'd say 11 have been just blockbuster, like A+ interviews. Like I would listen. So I've been going back. I got caught up finally on some stuff, and I'm going back and listening to them back and clipping them out. And then I put it all in a folder, throw it on Google Drive, and email the guest and say, hey, here's all the audio, here's all the video clips, here's all the whole video. It's going to be there for 2 weeks. Download it at your leisure. And then if you need it longer, let me know and I'll leave it up there. But I'm just conserving space on Google Drive. Well, I'm listening to these interviews back and I'm like, these people are phenomenal interviews. Like I felt like I could have done better. I felt like that, when you do an interview and you're like, that went really good. And then you listen to it back and you're like, man, I could have dug deeper there. Like yes. I could have made it the interview. Like, these are moments that I'm listening to in these interviews, but they're phenomenal anyway to begin with. And I'm like the one I have coming out on Thursday, I interviewed a woman about plant intelligence.
Okay.
She's working on a project. She worked on a project for a long time and she's still associated with it where they do plant music, where they hook electrodes, they hook monitors up to plants and measure the impedance between the leaves and the roots and translate that into music and study what the plant, how it reacts, how it interacts and all this. And I'm like, well, She started working on Real Player.
Oh my God. Like late 90s, mid to late 90s. Oh my God. That's awesome.
Her first job out of college, she worked for a CD press printing company where she was labeling the tracks, like the beginning and the ending of the tracks on CDs. And then she worked on a promotion with Rage Against the Machine.
Really? Wow.
The first promotion where the CD was linked to the web, where you bought their CD, you put the CD in the computer, went to a specific website, and it unlocked music. Like she worked on this promotion, and I'm like, and then you ended up living at a community in Italy that like is this free spirit Damaher. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's like the biggest natural community in Italy. She lives there now. Super cool, and the interview was just fascinating. And these are the people that I'm landing on this site, and it just blows my mind.
Because I probably mentioned this to you before, but I don't know. No, it was about a year ago, called Matchmaker.fm. Same type of system.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a friggin' cheap dating app, but it was the same thing. And I got like no hits, nothing worth. Yeah, I think
you got to pay. Pay.
I got to try. This sounds like it could be a really decent.
The funny thing about that was, so I found that one. So Ken Esch actually referred me to it, and I looked at it, and I was like, it was at a point where I was so busy. It was before we launched, and it was like, I got to pay to sign up for this. I'm not going to use it. Like, I know I'm not going to use it, so I can't sign up yet.
Yep.
Well, totally forgot about his link, of course, and just as a dick, I like on purpose, No, I've totally forgot. I was searching like how to find guests for interviews because I had a really good run. Like I went through my network. I had everybody I knew on, everybody I knew who knew was on. And I was like at that stuck point where, okay, I'm not doing interviews anymore because I don't have anybody to talk to.
Oh.
So I searched and said, well, I did. I had people to talk to, but nobody like not.
Correct. Oh shit, we might have lost you for a second. Looked like you closed your eyes and fell asleep, but man, he was just getting to the good stuff too, guys. Talking about
I'm back.
You're back. All right.
Anyway, so I got to this point where I'm like, I need these interview guests. And so I Googled and I said, how to find podcast guests. And the first one was Podmatch. And I'm like, that's the one that Ken told me to try. And so I clicked on it.
Yep.
And I went down this road and I've had all these phenomenal interviews. Well, the other day I was cleaning up my 4,000 browser tabs that I had open. I was like, okay, because I had an interview coming up with somebody that was like super serious about you got to have everything closed on your computer. If there's any glitches, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I got Starlink. I'm going to glitch out regardless. So anyway, I'm trying to do what he asked. I'm like closing all these tabs and shit. And I came across the Google search for where to find podcast. And so I went there again, and I was like number 2 on the list. I looked at this. I think I searched it in like November. So, now here it is February. I'm looking at number 2 on the list.
That's crazy.
And it was this thing, and it was free. And I'm like, okay, so I sign up, and I get the email, and it emails you like a guest list every year, like featured guests, this and that. And so I'm scrolling through them, like none of them are matching what anything I'd want to talk to. And then there's this guy, he's like, oh, the world's foremost bat expert. I'm like, all right, cool. I can deal with this. So I click on his profile and it's like, oh, this and that. Like I traveled the world looking at bats and researching bats and this and that. And I'm like, dude, like this would work because doing hip cant setups and properties, bats, they're all beneficial. So I get a scroll that says podcast of note, like notable podcasts the person's appeared on. First one, Joe Rogan podcast. And I'm like,
oh, that's awesome. Wow. So did he come on? Did you get him?
I haven't emailed him yet. It's still sitting. It's actually, I'm looking at the browser tab right here with his profile open. I got to email him and figure out dates because I'm booked through March right now, actually. So both lives. So that's two a week. I've been booked solid and I'm pre-recorded all the way through February. And I have half of March pre-records booked and half of March lives already booked and all February. So like there's no point reaching out to him right now and going, dude, you want to come on in like May?
I know. That's my thing. I'm like, oh, I know a guest I want. So then I go the hard way. Like I reach out to them and then they ignore me. And then I reach out to them a second time. And then they're like, shut up, don't talk to me. That kind of thing. But I might have to try this a little bit.
Yeah. That pod match, man, that's a quality site. And, so I promote it. There's a referral link that you have that you can get if you get people to sign up. Obviously, they give you a little cut. And so I'll push that out. And the guy that runs it is constantly thanking me for promoting his links and pushing his stuff. So he's involved. I don't know. It's probably a bot that's doing it for him or whatever. But at least they set that up as a front facing kind of customer service thing.
And is it podmatch.fm or is it
podmatch.com?
.com. Oh, wow. They got an old-fashioned .com email, URL. That's all right.
I believe. Hold on. Let me make sure here. Let me pull it. Podmatch.com. Yeah, okay. And if you go to let me see if it's going to load for me while we're streaming. If I drop you, I'm sorry. I tried to use the internet all at once.
That's okay. It might be unlimited. It's just not that wide.
Yeah. So podmatch.com, and I believe it's podmatch.com / the Lots Project is kind of my referral link, but it didn't pull up with me signed in because I'm all in incognito here. It's just taking me an extra second.
That's okay. I like it.
Yeah. No, it's www.joinpodmatch.com / the Lots Project.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. And have you were there any tips or tricks you've learned from or is it just super
as a host looking for guests, so they have a list of videos that you can watch that kind of educate you, walk you through it. It says watch these to maximize your what you're paying for Podmatch. Okay. Of course I didn't. I dove right in like every fucking man. Yes. And just did whatever I wanted. There was a point where I ran out of matches and I'm like, well, this sucks. Nothing's matching up. And so I go over and I start looking at the how-to videos. And the second one said, target your guests with your hashtags. So if you want to, I said, if I want to interview somebody like Tim, I would say tools and reviews and this and that. Well, if I want to interview Brian Norton, I would put in coffee and this and this. So you can change them whenever you want. So basically, I say I got March 7th open. I want to talk to somebody that is a marine biologist. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to put ocean, marine, animals, blah, blah, blah. And it'll start populating my matches. And I'll send all my messages out to those people. And as soon as I book one, I go in and change all my hashtags to the next target. So instead of searching for all your guests, search for your one guest and then search for your next guest. And
yes, that makes sense. Okay.
Instead of casting that wide net, really target down. You're not actually looking for the specific person, but you're looking for that person. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was the biggest thing. And the other is, just reach out to people. Some of the people that I didn't think were going to be great interviews turned out to be great interviews. There's a lot of life coaches, and there's a lot of people looking to get exposure for stuff that they're just I'm not interested in. Maybe if that's the podcast genre, it would work. But if you're choosy and you look through the guests and really read their profiles, and there's always links to other shows they've been on. You can go on and listen to them, see how they speak, see if their cadence works for you. Just do your research and you'll find everything you're looking for and more.
Have they, so you've kind of, I don't know if you changed up what your show is a little bit, have you?
I haven't really changed it. I've actually just multiplied it. I was doing Monday through Friday morning, 6 a.m. I've been doing that since for over a year now. I started at 15 minutes and now I'm at like 45 minutes a day, really. Every day, 5 days a week. A lot of times it's just me rambling over coffee with the audience, with the live feed. We bullshit quite a bit and just talk about whatever is going on in my life. Basically, I come up with the schedule, I come up with the topics, and we just roll with it. Some days I'll just have something I'm thinking about that I want to go into. I think tomorrow we're going to talk about like homesteading in Minnesota and the good, the bad, the ugly, what we liked, what we didn't like, and what really fucking sucked. Nice. But it's so random because I was doing my interview shows. I was doing my morning shows. My morning shows are 45 minutes long. My interview shows are an hour long. And I was like, how can I reach the people that want to watch a 10-minute or listen to a 10-minute podcast or a 5-minute podcast or something like that? Like, I'm a 45-minute podcast talking about random shit. I ask a question every day and then I talk about random stuff, or I do interviews that are an hour or an hour and a half long. I'm missing out on that short format, that short content people, the people that want to listen to the quick hitter things. So I was thinking, and I'm like, all right, maybe people want to listen to just interviews. I like interviews.
I love it. Yeah.
So I was like, what could I do? What could I do? What could I do? I'm like, Anchor's free. Anchor's free. I can mess around with Anchor. I started 2 new podcast feeds. Not too new, like I'm not doing any more. Basically, my interviews go up on Anchor as lots to talk about. That was something that I was calling those episodes anyway. So you can find lots to talk about podcast feed on Anchor or any of the other things. But it's also contained in the full feed, the Lots Project podcast.
Nice.
And then I also am spinning up my own little coffee brand here. I've had GSD blend. We've had the dogs blends, but I put together a new house blend called the Perfect Cup. And I decided to have that sponsor my question of the day. And for that 5 to 10 minute quick hitter episode, I pull that out every day. It's usually between 5 and 10 minutes. And I basically ask my question of the day and give my thoughts and interact with the live feed crew as much as we can, up to 10 minutes max. And then I strip that out and publish that under the Perfect Cup podcast, which, it's something to think about while you're drinking your coffee and enjoy that cup of coffee and contemplate maybe a pretty deep question. So
you're doing the same amount of podcasting, which how many episodes a week are you? You must be 7, are you?
7 episodes.
Yeah. But you didn't have to add any more, and now you've got 3 feeds out of the deal.
Yeah. Things to share, 3 different feeds too. And it just clouds the waters and even more because now we've always talked about the struggle about quantifying your growth when you have YouTube live streams, you have audio downloads, you have 16 different places you're sending lives, and you're looking at all these metrics. Well, now I broke it down even more and added in 2 extra streams of audio, but
it works. I mean, I don't mind. That's kind of, we might have lost you again just for a second, but I enjoy that. I recently completely 100% stole your idea. Oh, there you are. You back?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's okay. You're good, man. We're good. I just fill it in as we, something dies. I just start blabbering on. So
Josh says sometimes they're way too deep of a question. That's right. And they definitely are. And it's weird because I pre-did 65 questions. I said, I'm going to do this for 3 months and just suck it. If it sucks and I get 0 downloads, whatever, it's 3 months.
Sure.
You and I have talked about that with social media platforms. I'm trying out Clapper.
That was my next question. Yep.
Yeah, because TikTok hates me because I don't have enough followers and shit like that. So, but anyway, yeah, I was like, I strung out. I did some web searches. I found some lists of like, a lot of them were lists of questions to contemplate before you die. Things like that, like deep thinking stuff, and then different stuff along that lines. And I just picked 65 unique questions and I have them in a spreadsheet, and I just go down the list. And yeah, like brain teasers, man. Like tomorrow is where do thoughts come from?
I'm gonna get. I love
So
that.
I spin on that. So I did the question this morning. I read the answer. I uploaded everything, and then I immediately go and look at the question for the next day. And basically, I think about it for 23 hours.
Right. I love
So
it.
yeah, I come up with I talk for 5 minutes, and the audience, I got a decent sized crew that hangs out in the morning. They're spitting their answers out. We're talking about it, and it's great.
I was going to go one direction, but I want to ask you this because I get asked this once in a while. So you're fucking creating content 7 days a week. How do you always come up with something? And has it gotten easier? I know.
No,
yeah.
No, it doesn't get easier. Literally, I was coming up with a way to have some backup stuff today when I was working on my website. And if you go to thelotsproject.com, and it's barely live, like the page it's there, but it's not finished. It's like in the first draft stage, but the form is there. So if you want to early in on it, if you go to thelotsproject.com and hit podcast, you don't hit the drop down menu, you just hit podcast. It goes to the main podcast page, and there's a fill out form there where you can ask me anything. You can submit a question, and if I use it on the podcast, I'll send you 2,500 sats.
Nice.
I'm just building a bank of like questions to use when there's that day that I have too many Lone Star Tall Boys, and I wake up in the morning, I'm like, Corey, what the fuck am I going to talk about? Well, she drank too much the night before too, and she looks at me, she's like, I don't give a shit what you talk about. It's your show. And I'm like, like I'm hitting go live, and I'm like, oh, well, what the man, this sucks. I want to have that database. Like right now, if I don't have notes, at least a few notes the night before, or I'm not like, usually I'm up early enough that I can come up with something. Yeah, Josh, I have to be able to use it on the show to receive the sats. But like there's mornings I'm like making my coffee going, like it's nice when we travel because we all have that's fresh content. Like
right.
every day we're doing something new. Yeah, when you sit for a while, like it's a struggle. It's a struggle. It gets interesting. Ask Corey. She gives me a lot of ideas. Let's just put it that way.
That's cool. No, I have you did I see? Yeah, I'm sure I did. The other day you're still doing the gravestone thing?
Oh yeah, man. I'm I actually here. I'm gonna refresh. I think I might have hit 1,000 followers on TikTok on that account right now.
Okay. Because I just seen something. What was it? You're doing like a whole story.
998. Okay. 998. Yeah. Well, no. Right now I'm working on a story. So I go and visit graveyards wherever we stop. It started up in Tennessee. Corey wanted to go for a walk over in the graveyard, basically where you picked her up in the back of the truck.
Yes, yep. Remember that crazy dog? Yep.
Anybody that doesn't know that story really doesn't need to know that story.
No, it's not that interesting, but I know where it is. Yeah.
But anyway, that cemetery across the street there, she was like, hey, I want to go walk around the cemetery barefoot. It's nice and smooth grass and all this. And I was like, well, I grew up near a cemetery. I've always been kind of intrigued by them, but I kind of like shoved it away since I was a kid because that was just something kids like to do. And so I went over there and walked with her, and I'm looking at these headstones. I'm like, it'd be really cool to take video of this and throw it on TikTok. I didn't know that there was like a whole genre of this going on there. And so I just did it. And the first one, I got like a few hundred views. The second one, I got like 14,000 views. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's a thing. And I had this thing when I was a kid. Corey kind of rekindled it in me. Maybe I'll just, when we travel around and stop somewhere, I'll find an old cemetery and go document it. So I started doing it, and the channel's kind of like grown and grown and grown. Recently, Josh told me when we were down here that out in the state forest, there's just this single grave on this like old minimum maintenance road down by the turnaround in a parking spot. It's just this grave and another little headstone that's supposedly the rattlesnake that killed him. They buried it next to him. Yeah. And so we finally had an opportunity to go down there, and I got some video, but I'm putting together like the whole story, like the story that's known, and then maybe the story that might have happened, because this dude, like, he lived there before the forest was there. Like the forest was planted after he died. It's a state forest. Well, it wasn't a state forest then. The state forest was established the year after he died. The lake that he's buried 30 feet from wasn't a lake when he was there. It was dammed up, and it became a lake after the fact. Like, did they kill him to take his land? I mean, the government isn't above that bullshit. Like, what's the story with this guy? Like, how did he end up out in the middle of this field, which would have been a field at the time, in the middle of what became the Sam Houston National Forest?
Right.
So doing a lot of content with that, lots of TikToks, lots of shorts. It's really easy short format content, walking around a cemetery, finding cool gravestones and filming them for 20 seconds. And I'm getting into cleaning headstones as well, like using a biological agent, cleaning the stone, like getting the mildew, the lichen, the dirt, the grime, all that off it, and making it legible again. And filming that and putting that out there and kind of doing that as we travel. So yeah, that's another hobby and interest that's kind of under the Lots Project with its own little thing going on.
As a kid, we had like the Loyalist Cemetery, so that 1700s, and then we had the Baptist Cemetery, which was old, and then we had the Catholic, which was really old. And we always played this game where we would go down through and have a circle around, and we would try to find the oldest date we could find on a gravestone. And I took my girls home last year at Christmas time, and we went through and we did the same thing. We walked up through and we were looking for, we found a couple from the 1700s in the Catholic grave. That's cool. I love that.
Yeah. And it's just, people think it's weird. I go barefoot quite a bit in the cemeteries, and it's a different feeling. Like, I'm not a woo-woo guy by any means, but I'm really getting in touch with a lot of different energies and things going on. And being barefoot a lot of different places, and then going to a cemetery and being barefoot there is definitely a different type of feel, different energy that you feel while you're there barefoot and connected to that earth.
When you were telling the story about the guy and the rattlesnake, and I don't know, that to me, there is something when you can connect stories with history, that's where friggin' magic happens. You don't have to tell everything. You just need to pick 3 or 4 stories that make a journey or make those connections. And man, I don't know. I could listen to historical stories all day long if they're interesting. And they don't even have to be that cool, just interesting.
Yeah, and that's kind of the MO once we start traveling more often. And it kind of happened when we left Tennessee, because we hit a couple spaces before we got down here. It's usually within a reasonable distance, there's a decent size old cemetery, whether it's closed, whether it's still in use, whatever, but old, like 1800s, 1700s, early 1900s. My goal is, if we're there for a week, is to go there one day, document as many headstones as I can, clean whatever headstones I can, and then spend the rest of the week finding out what I can about the headstones I've documented, and then publish them the following week when I'm doing the work for the next week at the next site, at the next town or the next stop. Or if we stay for more than 1 week, the next cemetery in that area. That's kind of the what I'm picturing with this and where it's going. It's one day and then, an hour or two a day the rest of the week until I exhaust all my and make all my content.
I love it. I think it's cool. I really do. And that's what TikTok was made for, I think. That kind of content right there.
Yeah. And it's nice because here in a couple of followers, I'll be able to go live. When you use the biological agent that I use, you spray it on, you let it sit for an hour. What the fuck am I going to do in a cemetery for an hour other than walk around going live, showing people headstones while I'm walking around bullshitting with them?
You're going to think you're some kind of goth that's down there talking to themselves or something. I love it.
Dude, I follow a guy that's a vault guy. His name is Brad, the vault guy. He is the guy that installs the vaults that their caskets are put in. And he's live all day on TikTok.
Yes, sir. So Josh come up with the name, the Grave Plots Project.
Dude, he's already had like 17 beers tonight, and he's going to be up watching my show in the morning. He's going to be like, I'm going to be really slow until I have my coffee.
So Cabot says you're a grave robber in a good way. I think you're more like a grave rubber. Sorry. Oh boy, that's lame. Anyway,
man. No, I'm very respectful. I am the anti-grave robber, really. I won't touch anything. I won't go in. I'm very actually nervous. If it's questionable, I won't touch it. I won't clean it. I won't get anywhere near it. If it's crumbling or I am deathly afraid that something's going to happen to somebody's memorial that I'm responsible for. And yeah, so
I one of my jobs in high school, I worked at a Boys and Girls Club, and we worked with, there was teens, but I was working with the younger kids. So we took them down to the Anglican cemetery one time, and they had these beautiful it's the white stone, what is that, limestone or whatever, so it fades pretty good. And they were, like about a 2-inch thick, but they're really tall and skinny. And so we were doing grave rubbings. You take a crayon with a pencil, or the paper, which was cool until the stone fell over and broke a girl's leg in half. So it was a lawsuit waiting to happen. I'm just so glad that I had already moved on with my group of kids, and we went to the toy maker. I was like, oh, thank God. But,
There's some crazy, like, I've seen some just absolutely beautiful stuff from the early 1900s, especially in this area. There must have been a wealthy settlement here, and there's a cemetery in downtown. It's like a 5,000 people town, but there's a big cemetery down there that there are monuments that are probably 20-foot tall, marble, like completely beautiful marble. The etching is still crystal clear, and obviously, I mean, there's Freemason symbols all over them. They were the wealthy, but huge monuments from the early 1900s, and it's really cool to see them, document them, be around them, read the different things that people put on them. And then, like, that's my deal. I'm into the older shit. Like, I'm not a like walk around like the people that died in 2015 and this and that. But when you're in these cemeteries, you're driving around, like, things will catch your eye. Some of the stuff they're doing now is mind blowing, with memorials, with gravestones, with the laser etching, the photocopying.
The photos are cool.
Yeah, I can't believe, like, I was talking about this with somebody on my TikTok today. I love the ones that are from the early 1900s that have photos on them, and how they're still so clear and so, like, they're perfect. They're like in perfect condition, and this picture's been there for 110 years. It's like,
how did
what's
they do
going
that?
on? I don't know. I find them all the time. There's like these old, and they always have like the ghostly eyes that are kind of like, it's pretty freaky. I'll send you some pictures. You're gonna, yeah. But like the newer stuff, like I ran across one the other day that was like flat metal. It was probably 1/4 inch, and it was die cut or laser cut. I couldn't really tell, but basically when the sun would shine through it was when you could read it. Which was really, I mean, like if you kind of got down in front of it, you could read it, no problem. But when I was filming it, I could get an angle that would basically light up each word as I moved my phone. Okay. And then I came back across and went to the next line, and the sun was coming through it. It was like, actually, it almost looked like it was reading it to you. And then I showed it, and it was only like 1/4 inch thick, and it was pretty cool. I was like, they're doing some really cool stuff. QR codes on headstones that link to YouTube videos.
Oh, the one I was interested in, I haven't seen any yet, are the ones where when you go by, they either have a button or they're activated and the voice will talk to you. Yep. I'm like, it's fucking creepy in a way, but it's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I found some lady that had one that had a QR code that like went to a video, and it was like a memorial of her life, like all the accomplishments she had and like pictures of her and things like that. And it was, you just scan the thing and it went to that YouTube video.
I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. You're doing good work there, man. I love it. I want to get you I want to get you to touch on Clapper though, because I know we're going to do a hard right turn here. But talk a little bit about how you caught the clap.
I got the clap. Yes. I got the clap, and it was all Tim's fault.
Well, technically, it was Jester's fault, but yes.
Oh yeah. I was watching Tim's show. I don't know, a while back. Oh, it was the Float Bash, the Float Bash episode, and somebody mentioned Clapper, and I'm like, well, what the hell is this? I'm like, whatever. Thought about it the next morning, hit it up, or actually, I'd hit it up that night. Didn't even sign up or anything. I just downloaded it. The next day, I was looking at it. I signed up, and I was like, it's exactly like TikTok. It's a TikTok mirror, basically, a clone of TikTok. But I guess it's not owned by China. So that's a good thing, I guess. But there's no limits. There's no limits on like going live on TikTok. You need viewers, and like there's all this stuff. Like I signed up, and the next day I messed around with going live with 4 followers. So that's advantageous to me as somebody trying to build. So I went on, I started posting videos. I've gained some traction. I have a third of the followers on Clapper that I do on TikTok, and it's been a quarter of the time, maybe.
Nice. Are you getting more traction, like interaction too, or?
Yeah, I do. I get a lot of it's building. And that's the thing. I'm giving it 90 days, just like all the other shit. But I can go live there every morning, and I'm getting 700 to 900 views per live stream every morning on there. And there's a shop feature on your profile. You can, I think it was mainly intended for like one-off things for artisans and crafters and things like that wanted to sell their stuff on a live. Like, hey, I put it in my shop, and you go live and you can like show it and try to sell it. I just put my shit in there, like my coffee, support the Watts project, all this different stuff, and you can display your shop when you go live. So haven't sold anything on there yet, but it's eyes, and that's what we talked about. It's eyes. That's the TikTok thing. When you put a post on TikTok, it shows it to a minimum of 200 people. That's 200 people. I don't give a shit who they are. I don't really care if they follow me. I got to show 200 people my TikTok.
And if one person bites each time.
Right. TikTok showed it to them for me. Like, they're not even necessarily my followers. So, I mean, go where the eyeballs are. Right now, I can't go live on TikTok for my show in the morning, and I plan to. Like, I have this goal to. But I'm still building. I got 300 followers to go before I can do it on TikTok. So why not do it on Clapper? If it takes off, then maybe I don't do it on TikTok. Maybe by the time I get there on TikTok, I'm like, fuck you, I don't need it.
Well, that's what Jester from It's Doomsday, he got tired of being shadow banned on TikTok because, you know, I mean, he obviously deals with content that the China people or whatever the app doesn't. Yeah, China. They're Renegade. I was just reading it how Renegade put it up there. Reminded me of the wrestler China. So, but yeah. So
hey, boys, coming to the stage tonight. She might not be a good mama, but she sure is a good dancer. Welcome to the stage, China.
So the real question is, how are the yoga videos on Clapper?
Haven't seen one. I haven't actually looked at any videos on Clapper.
I scrolled it a few times.
Actually, I mean, is your show PG?
Well, we've been saying fuck at least. No, so we're
here. So you got a show you got to jump on here in a few minutes, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I got a closer for you right here.
All right. Oh no.
So I did laundry the other day, and I went to the washateria. I didn't know if you know that laundry mats in Texas are called washaterias or washaterias or washaterias or something. Like, I'm really close to Mexico, I guess.
They serve food there?
No.
Okay. I'm just like cafeteria.
Washing machines.
Okay.
But anyway, so I'm sitting there, and the place was it's been very nice every time I've been there. But this time, for some reason, with like 7 families and 14 kids running around screaming and everything. So I put my earbuds in, and I'm like, I've been going live on Clapper. I should probably watch some Clapper lives and figure out what they do on there. So I'm watching. And I'm watching him, and like there's like a truck driver. He's got like 17 million followers or something. He's just driving down the road talking. Like I think he's famous from other places or whatever. I'd heard the name before. Anyway, so I'm flipping through, and I come up to this thing, and it's like two people. And I've been noticing this a lot. There's like two people. They're chatting for some reason. I don't know if it's like we're trying to make each other laugh or what's going on here. Okay. So I look at the thing, and it's a guy lighting a bowl, and he's getting ready to smoke. And this other chick was on the other side of the screen, and she's like, "All right, I'm going to tell you a little story while you smoke." And I'm like, "Okay, what the hell is this?" And she's like, and she's not super attractive. Like, I mean, if it had been a dry spell, it probably wouldn't have been a bad idea.
Clapper's the uglier version of TikTok.
Yeah, so she's like, yeah, you know, so I've been fucked out of my earrings before. And I'm like, what? She's like, I've taken it hard and I've lost an earring, but I've never been fucked out of my nipple rings. Last night I got fucked out of my nipple rings, and I'm like, what is going on?
Oh my God. Yeah, they're not going to say that.
The guy literally blew his bowl out. Like laughed so hard into his pipe that it shot out like a stream.
Oh, and yeah, because
I'm sitting in the laundromat with my earbuds in, laughing hysterically.
At the washateria.
At the washateria, yeah.
Washateria. Is it like
I don't know if it's the washateria or the washateria or what it is. Josh isn't sure either.
Is it Spanish for something, or is it like
so.
Because it reminds
me for laundromat.
It reminds me of the Acadian French in Nova Scotia, where they're like la big screen television or parque la car dans la driveway. It's like we called it franglais, a mix of French and English. You know, Spanglish. Oh my God, yes, that's great.
That's what we used to speak in the kitchens to all the Ecuadorians of Spanglish.
Wasn't that a movie with friggin' Adam Sandler?
Yeah, it wasn't as good as what we used to tell the Ecuadorians.
No, nothing's as good as the humor in a restaurant. So, well, brother, we've been almost an hour and a half, and I got a little bit, but I'm going on with Matt from Farm Hop here in a few minutes. So,
is that his men's forum, or are you doing an interview?
Interview, I guess. Yeah, he's interviewing me, I guess. So it's gonna live stream here and on his YouTube channel.
Oh, nice. I'm not going to be able to stay up that late. I'll probably have another tall boy and pass out, but I'll catch the beginning for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. So how do people find you? I know you're right here right now, electronically, but
I don't want to be found.
Well, there you go, guys. Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, no.
But you can find me at thelotsproject.com or on YouTube. Type at The Lots Project. Don't type youtube.com/The Lots Project because that's not our name. But the handle is The Lots Project. So at The Lots Project, if you search that or just the name, any podcast player, you can search The Lots Project or Lots to Talk About or The Perfect Cup Podcast, and you should find all of it.
Yes, and you hit 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, you've hit your 1,000 and a bit on YouTube now.
1,200 now.
Nice. Shorts, is that what's doing it for you? Yep, that's the way to do it.
Yep. Lots of shorts. The grave stuff does well on on YouTube also. It's crazy.
I love it. Well,
would have never guessed. It was not intentional by any means whatsoever. I just kind of happened into it.
Well, what's the worst that could have happened? You could have made a grave mistake.
Killed some time.
Yeah, that filled it in right there. So, all right. Yeah, so we will have you back, brother. This has been 3 episodes, so you're now tied the lead with Ryan the Prepper Dad, and Carrie Brown's gonna
but I got that tool review in too, so
that's true. Yes, you and Carrie Brown will be tied then. Let's put it that way. Four appearances on the workshop channel.
I'm okay with being tied with Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown is a solid individual, and so is Prepper Dad too.
Ryan's awesome.
I can't say anything about Ryan either. So
now you're in elite company, so we'll keep it going.
I am elite, and they should feel honored to be in the company with me.
And thanks for being flexible.
I'm very humble.
Humble. That's one word for it. But anyway, I don't know what I don't think that's the right word. I don't think that word means what you think it means, you know? All right. We will have you back. Yeah. Again, I always love having you on. We always have a good chat, and an hour and a half flies by, and it could have been 3 hours and it still would have been fun. So
yeah, man, for sure. For sure.
Cool. Thank you very much. And everyone, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.